In last week's episode, we fixed the sloppy shifter and lifted the Ford Festiva, but I still haven't really mentioned why I'm doing this or what the goal is. And, well, now I have 4 days to actually achieve that goal because the first rallycross is this coming Sunday, and my rally car isn't done yet. Typically, you don't really lift rally cars, but these are 12-inch wheels and tires, and there's not really any off-roady type tires that will fit this. So I gotta go with like 14s or 15s, but 14s or 15s with tires the same diameter as this would be low profile, and those would just bend wheels all the time. So I need more clearance so that I can run bigger diameter tires, basically, is the way that I thought about it. And the whole suspension need replaced anyway, so here we are. It's taller now. Yay. So here we have some aluminum L-beam. Actually, I think that's galvanized steel. And also some lights. I got square ones because the main headlights are square, and I've never seen a rally car with square running lights. Also because square was the only thing that Harbor Freight had 4 of in stock. I'm sure the light output on these is absolute trash, but you know, this is just kind of for the look. I've always wanted a car with a bunch of lights on the front, and now I'll have a car with a bunch of lights on the front. So let's stick these on there, cut that to length, and mount it to the front of the Festiva. That actually looks pretty cool. Believe it or not, the mounting system on these dirt cheap Harbor Freight headlights is slightly subpar. So let's go see if this will even mount somewhere on the front of the Festiva. I haven't really worked out a mounting solution for this yet. We're just going to do it live. Well, there is a couple of holes here for like a license plate. This is basically a license plate, I guess. I guess I'll have to see if I can find some screws that'll actually fit in there. I don't know what this is, but it's definitely not correct. Well, that took entirely too long. The holes were all messed up. I ended up actually drilling them out, tapping them, and then, well, cross-threading some screws through them anyway. So, at any rate, it's on. The metal's a little bit flimsy, but it's on there solid enough. Good enough for government work. Look at that, it's got rally lights now. Now I just have to wire them, and I think I'm just going to wire these into the headlight circuit. It comes with all this wiring, but then I have to run it through the firewall to the switch, and I really don't want to do that. So I think that's our Huckleberry right there. These are pretty pitiful lights. They don't draw a ton of amperage, so I think we'll be fine. If not, fuses exist. Well, this sure escalated quickly. I wanted to get a trigger. I'm going to run all this off a relay for, well, fire safety reasons that should be fairly obvious. But in order to trigger that, I wanted a wire coming off of the high beam. But in order to get that unplugged, the airbox had to come off, and I took that tube off so I could put some fresh duct tape over the bellows part that is a bit broken. And man, look at the condition of this valve cover. That is simply amazing. But anyway, I've got my wire crimped in. Right now, I can just drive them directly just to make sure that it works, but I'm going to go grab a relay from the O'Reillys and stick the relay in there with a fuse, like a real person who knows what he's doing. And then, yeah, these will be running off the high beam trigger directly from the battery. And all will be well, maybe, possibly, hopefully. Oh, let's take a look at our... Let's take a look at our air filter. Ew. That's gross. Wonder if O'Reilly's has a new one of them. Ha ha! Look at that. We got 4 lights on the front of the Festiva. We've got a new air filter installed. I've got this relay here that's triggered. I've got this relay here triggered off the high beam. That all grounds to random bolts and stuff, but it seems to work great. And then, you know, super legit positive battery connection that's just kind of shoved in the terminal. Well, let's just not talk about that, but it works great. Unfortunately, something I discovered is that this absolutely trashed key cylinder here that I have to do all this nonsense with. Come on, there we go. That's not replaceable. You got to do the whole column. So yeah, we're gonna find other avenues, but if I turn the lights on and I turn the brights on, we have much light. I mean, not that it really outputs a significant amount of light, but it looks cool. And then you can hear my relay clicking away as I toggle my high beams, so that's pretty sweet. And that's all good to go. I also fixed the brakes If you remember when I hit the brakes, the lights would just stay on. That is no longer the case. There's it's impossible to show on camera because it's way up there in the dash. I had to take the seat out and lie on my back, but there's a little rubber push thing on the brake lever itself that actually pushes the brake switch closed or open, as it were, and that was missing. So I just found an appropriately sized screw and super glued it in there, and Bob's your second cousin twice removed. Unfortunately, Rallycross is tomorrow, and I just discovered a bit of a game breaker here. Now, I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me jack the car up and we'll get a better idea what's going on here. It's real hard to see. The other side was a lot worse, but there's a bit of wobble in the wheel bearing, and that's one of the things that they're going to check at Rallycross because they don't want wheels falling off. I think I can just repack this. Well, I know I can just repack this because I just did it on the other side, and it fixed the problem right up. So on this side, I actually think I can do it. I actually think I can do it on these cars without even removing the wheel. Just pop off this dust cap. Well, no, the wheel and the... No, I better just take the wheel off. It's stupid. Come on, Jake. The least Mazda could have done is actually give us a way to get this dust cap off. There we go. What we are looking at here is an absolute den of misery. Somewhere in there is a cotter pin that we have to get off, and there is a lock nut, the actual nut, and then the whole drum and wheel bearing assembly comes off. Clean most of the old grease off, and then put new grease in it, reassemble it, torque it. Good to go. Right, so this side's a different design than the other side. The nut is reverse threaded because, you know, you don't want the rotation of the wheel to take the nut off. But this one doesn't have like a separate collar over it. The nut itself has is a castle nut, so that comes off. Pretty simple. There we go. And then you can see here the other components of the brake setup. You've got the brake itself, which houses one of the bearing races. The bearing itself, this one looks a bit nicer than the other side. You've got this only fits one-way washer, and then the castle nut. So yeah, I'm just gonna clean some of the old grease out of here, see how this feels, and then start packing it with new grease. And I can't really film that because I can't use a camera with hands literally caked in grease, but basically what you do is you grab yourself a handful of grease and you mash this into it over and over so that it works into the space around the edge here and gets inside all the bearings. Then you put a healthy coating on there after wiping off the old stuff, and in there after wiping off the old stuff, and you reassembly is reverse of unassembly. Okay, you can expect your hands to look like an absolute murder zone when you're doing this, but I got the bearing repacked with grease, just trying to, you know, you get them out of it and then you just shove the edges through the grease to try and pack it in between the cage and the race. Give the whole thing a good inspection, make sure that like the rollers aren't chewed up or anything. Re-greased everything, got the old grease off the spindle and off the outer race and re-greased all those, shoved it all back together. And now it's ready to go back together with a new cotter pin, and then put the dust cap back on, and it's good to go. Just make sure you don't get any grease on the inside of the drum, or your braking performance will be adversely affected. The next thing on the docket for me today is this right here, this 90s motorized 3-point seatbelt junk. I've already kind of started taking it apart. This trim just pulls right off. All of it is one piece. I started down here and just worked my way over, and there's the motor down there, and it looks like it's just a whole bunch of 10 mil bolts holding this on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out and go from there. Ew. Good riddance. Get out of here. So if we look back in here, we'll see there's a couple large areas for mounting bolts down there, but then also there's some mounting areas right here. And that's what we're going to be using right now. Look, a box, and inside, wow, it's a seat belt. This is actually out of a Geo Tracker, and it fits in a Ford Festiva perfectly. We just bolt this in where that thing we just took out was. This plastic thing needs to go away. This bolts onto the floor, I believe. no wait, this bolts up on the B-pillar, this bolts to the floor, and this plugs into the OEM receiver that's already there. And look at this, the guy was nice enough to include hardware in a torn bag, oops, and everything. So, yep, conventional 3-point seat belt in my Ford Festiva so that I don't die as quickly if I roll it. Ideal. Well, that wasn't too bad. I had to pull this thing out of the floor down here, which is where the bottom of the belt bolted on, and then it comes up here where it's attached, and then goes back down here to the reel. And really, I'm gonna have to cut that thing off of there. The only annoying part was I had to reverse the belt inside this. This was on the other side, which would have resulted in it being twisted across my body. But I got that done, and look at that. That is a seat belt. Let's see if it clicks in. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I wonder if I could actually get this to go through here somehow. I don't know if this comes off somehow, and then I could really have my routing nice. But for now, that's a huge improvement in safety, which is, safety third and all that. And it's a very tasteful black belt. Very, very good at jiu-jitsu or something. All right, moving on. So we have lights, we have shifter bushings, we have a lift, we have a seat belt. But what we also have is a bit of a positive camber here in the front. And yeah, that's not exactly great for handling. I'd also like to try and figure out if I can get my toe set a little bit better. So let's get to work on that camber. So what I did very sloppily was oval out the bottom holes in the strut here using a rotary hasp on a die grinder, which I've never done before. And yeah, it was horrifying. It just kind of, as soon as the hasp touches the metal, it threw my hand out of the way. Not a big fan of that, but I can now bolt this back up, and then when I go to tighten it down, I push on the bottom of the strut here to add the camber in provided by the ovaled lower bolt holes, and hopefully I did it the right amount. I was going for about 1 millimeter. I think I overshot on this one, and I'm not sure I got enough on that one. We will see. I can't take off of the inside of these top ones because this is basically contacting the strut. You can actually see a little bit of a witness mark there. So there's nowhere for the top to go. The bottom has to come out. So bolt this thing right back up and see where we end up. So now I've got this partially reassembled. You can see when I push on it, there's a little bit of movement there. Maybe it's a little more visible over here. But that movement is going to be our little bit of camber, and that also adjusts toe. So hopefully getting this camber figured out will also fix my toe and make the car drive a little bit nicer than it does right now, because right now it is a mess. The toe is all off. So while I was trying to fix my my camber issue, Roberto showed up with a solution to my super tiny crappy wheel issue. And yeah, we're rocking Protege wheels now, and they fit pretty well, honestly. And oh my gosh, look at how much the wheel wells filled up. I mean, get a vibe, that versus that. And these have like brand new Blizzics on them. Blizzics, which are super soft, and I'm a bit worried about my alignment destroying these tires before we even get to Rallycross. So I might take these back off and just bring tools with me to swap them at the race tomorrow. But right now I just want to put them all on and take a look at it, because oh my gosh, it's absurd. And to get them on there, because these are 4x100, I have somewhere, I got this set of aluminum 1-inch lug-centric 4x1 14.3 to 4x100 adapter spacer thingies, and yep, that's gonna be my Huckleberry. Or I could hub swap, but this is a lot easier. So luckily someone on the internet has already done this, so I know exactly how much material I need to take off. I need to take this top one, and apparently if I go on the inside to about 0.62 or so, so about to there, that is about right to get back to a stock amount of camber. I've been doing that with this thing. It's a Harbor Freight die grinder, with the Harbor Freight rotary hasp. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. It's pretty freaking terrible to use, though. It jumps all over the place. The run out is absolutely terrible on this cheap die grinder. Pretty miserable experience, but yep, apparently top 2 on there, and I'll be in business for my camber, and then I can figure out my toe. Look at that. The holes are ovals now. That's wonderful. And I had to clearance the knuckle a little bit too. So now I just throw this in there. Calipers say that was the right amount. Throw this in there. I've got to kind of push inward on the strut while I tighten those bolts down. And I got to tighten them down quite a bit. And then get this thing on the ground and measure up my toe. And hopefully that is the last of this nonsense. As you can see here, it's sitting on the outside where it would have been stock, and then if I push, that is my camber adjustment there. And of course, that also affects toe because the whatever this is, tie rod is not moving. So yeah, there's my camber adjustment right there. So I just push that in, tighten those down, and we Gucci, flip-flop. Look at that! It's straight up and down. Amazing. Also made some progress as far as rattle reduction. I haven't put all the plastics back on here because I might want to go in and retorque these, but I did bolt the rear seat belts back in place so those aren't rattling around back here anymore. And I learned there is actually a correct and incorrect way to shut the hatch thanks to YouTube channel Samet Industries. It's a channel all about Festiva stuff. He's got a lot of neat tips and tricks for these cars, including a much better method than mine for fixing a messed up shifter, but apparently you've got to follow through when you close this. So if I just close it normally, it's pretty garbo, but if I close it properly, there is no rattling. This is going to be a straight up luxury car now. We're talking 80s Mercedes spec, when cars were built like bank vaults. Yep, that's a solid sound right there. Oh, the whole thing's just made out of Pepsi cans. Good lord. Okay, well, a couple of issues arose, one of which is that the process of fixing the camber absolutely screwed the toe. I just took measurements on the front of the tire and the rear of the tire with my tape measure and some help. You just choose one of the treads, stick the tape measure there, same place on the other side, measure the distance, do that on the front and rear of the tire. Lifted car makes that very easy. The difference was 2 inches of toe in. 2 inches. That's amazing. The other issue is these rally lights had a glass fuse that they came with, and the fuse holder melted. So I need to go get a new fuse holder because clearly the lights on the front are the most important part. But anyway, I just took that wheel off and adjusted the thing the wrong way, didn't I? Yep, sure did. All right, wheel comes back off, and I need to try and remember how directions work. On the plus side, these adjusters work super easy and nice on this old car, so that part's cool. I guess I need to go in. I'm an idiot. Moving on. It is now much later. After about 6 up and downs, lift it up, adjust it, put it down, roll it back and forth, check, lift it back up, do it again and again and again. We've got 56.5 inches on the front, 56 and 5/8 on the 56 and 5/8 on the front, 56.5 on the rear. So we've got just a little bit of toe out, which is what front wheel drive cars like. Also 30 amp fuse right here for the rack of lights on the front, which is now working again. One of the most fun parts is just how easy it is to move this thing forward and back when because you want to roll it forward and back to let the wheels kind of go to whatever their natural position is, and literally can just do it with one arm. Let's go drive this thing and make sure that it's good. It's like, what time is it?
10:07.
10:07. I've got to be up at like 7 tomorrow morning, gross, to get down to the race in Mulvane. This thing still is not tagged, so that's going to be an adventure on its own. Hopefully I can avoid major roads. Anyways, let's get out of here. Well, that test drive was a success. It seems to track pretty straight. everything works good. There's no super weird noises. I am a bit sad that we didn't get the old snow tires on here, but I'll order some different spacers and we'll get them next time, Slugger. In the meantime, I'm going to go to sleep and get ready to wake up at the butt crack of noon for the race tomorrow. Hopefully it makes it down to Mulvane. Hopefully I don't get pulled over. Hopefully I can actually find my GoPro so I can record the race. I guess that's pretty important, but thanks for watching.